That exercise had to do with control, which is how much you want to influence other people and how willing you are to be influenced by other people. And there's a wide range of preferences here. Some people like to be in charge. Other people would prefer not to have that responsibility. Now, there's no, once again, there's no good, bad, right, wrong, or best place to be. The key is to know what your preference is along this scale and then be able to flex. I'm more up here. One of my business partners, Ron, is down here most of the time. Now, when we take our families on vacation, guess who's doing most of the planning? That would be me. I'm going through the brochures, figuring out which cruise ships we want to be on, which islands we want to go to, figuring all that stuff out. That's fine for Ron. He's quite happy. For me, he'll just say, you know, you do all the work, tell me when to show up. I'll be happy. All right? Now, when he gets into a workshop and he's in charge of the workshop, then he's moving up here. All right? So that's an example of flexibility. The problem, once again, is when you get rigid. If you have two people who are rigid low on control down here, trying to plan a vacation or a meeting, you know, what's it going to sound like? Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Well, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? You'll never get anything done, whether it's a vacation or a meeting. If you have people who get rigid up here, what's it going to sound like? Well, you better take two cars on your vacation because it's going to be my way or the highway. If they get rigid. And that's the key. I was a judge for 25 years, and all the judges in the agency where I worked also did a lot of mediation. As a judge in a trial, we had a lot of control up here. As a mediator, you had almost no control. You had no authority other than what the parties would give you. Now, for some judges, this was pretty easy, moving back and forth, from high control to no control. For other judges, that was very difficult. They didn't like giving up that control, right? So they had some rigidity there. And it's that rigidity that gets us into trouble. If you get rigid down here, what are you labeled? A wimp, a wuss. Never do anything. Never get in charge of anything. Never take control of anything. How about if you're up here? You know, the power monger, the Nazi, all right? It's when we get rigid along here that we get into trouble. It gives a bad name. It's also one of the things that makes it difficult oftentimes to find a really good second in command, because they not only have to be able to give orders, but they have to be able to get orders. Now, here's a trick question for you. If you're a parent, where do you want to be on here? 5? Right? Maybe it depends on the age of the kid, right? Maybe higher up here, okay? You think over here? All right. Now remember, this is a trick question. So where do you want to be on this scale to be a good parent? The answer is any place you want to be, as long as you can flex. Because there are times when you need to flex down on control and take the training wheels off the bicycle and let the kid try it on their own and take the risk of falling. So you're flexing down. And then there are times when your 15-year-old daughter's first date shows up on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle with every body part tattooed and pierced, that you want to flex up. And you take the shotgun off the wall and lock and load and say, this date isn't going to happen. So you need all of these behaviors, okay? If you can't flex, it is probably because you have some unresolved issues about your own competency, your belief system there, and you fear being humiliated. Now, if this is painful for you, how might you behave in order to not feel this? Well, one thing you can do is move down here. You're never going to take control of anything. You're not even going to be responsible for your kid's bake sale at the school. because you could screw up and make a mistake, and you don't want to be humiliated by that. So you take no responsibility over anything, ever. Or, another thing you could do is move to the opposite end. You take control over everything. This is the breeding ground of workaholism. All right? Not because you're passionate about your work, but you're afraid that problems are going to come up, and you'll be humiliated, or you'll be seen as not very competent. So you stay there 24/7. You're working every weekend. You know, you never let anything go by without your eye on it to make sure that it's okay. Once again, it's very easy to spot the rigid behaviors at the extremes. But we can get rigid any place along this scale. And once again, the distribution along here is almost completely equal. Once again, there's a slight bow in the middle there. So wherever you are on this scale, 90% of the rest of the world is different than what you are. That's control.